those I haven't met, I'm one of the partners here at Sterling Seacrest, and we've got a number of folks around the room who are my partners and associates. If you haven't met, please reach out and introduce yourself before you take off. For those who don't know us well, we're a multidisciplinary commercial insurance agency with deep industry verticals in a number of different areas, including healthcare, construction, real estate and hospitality, transportation and logistics, nonprofits, and then private client risk. So for individuals, we'll help you with your homeowners, your auto, your umbrella, on all your personal needs. We also have a large benefits practice, which is industry agnostic. We don't really care what business you're in as long as you've got a lot of employee headcount. Welcome, and thank you for taking the time to join us. We're excited about our program today, making your construction company future-proof. This is a topic that's been coming up regularly around our office for quite a while. There's certainly a recognition on our side of the fence that, with the baby boom generation owning most of the companies we deal with, it's no secret, right? I think I'm the last year of the baby boom, so I'm 54. If you're the first year of the baby boom, you're probably looking to retire and sell your company. So we've seen a lot of activity in this. We do a lot of surety work, so we're fairly plugged into the financial side of our clients. And this is clearly something that creditors and other stakeholders have an interest in. And so it's something we're regularly working and assisting our clients through this process. We're pleased to have Wayne Rivers here today to talk. He's the president and co-founder of the Family Business Institute. In addition to blogging weekly and writing 3 books on the subject of family business, Wayne has appeared as an expert guest on NBC, MSNBC, CNBC, and CNN. Wayne is also a popular blogger for the Wall Street Journal's The Experts column. Family Business Institute is a family business consulting and professional services firm dedicated to facilitating lasting business success and family harmony for its clients. We'd also like to thank our partners with Travelers who connected us to Wayne and his company. Please welcome Wayne Rivers.
Thank you. So the Family Business Institute is kind of a mouthful. We just refer to it as FBI. But we're the FBI you can still trust. I feel like this is going well in the Northeast for some reason, but maybe a little better here in the Southeast. So you don't break your arms taking notes and things like this. We'll send you the PowerPoint. I'll pass these around and take one and check off the stuff that you want. My assistant will send you the PowerPoint. And the white paper that we're offering is a succession planning white paper. It's a 3-part case study for the contractor family. So we can pass these around. And you guys, if you give us your email address, we'll put you on our blog, et cetera, et cetera. All right, so small group, let's keep it really informal. Let's have a back and forth here versus a lecture. Lectures are boring for me, and I know they must really be super boring for you guys. Just so you know, we don't work out of the trunk of a car somewhere. We've been around for a while. And we have a simple mission. I mean, what do you want? What does everybody at this table want, whether you're a contractor or a surety or whatever? I mean, you want business prosperity and family harmony. Is that not true? Yeah. Isn't it that simple? So why is that so hard? That's a very simple outcome that we all want. Why the heck do we make it so hard? So what's being planned in terms of success? And I'm sure you guys have seen this and even experienced this directly. So what's really being planned? The tax and legal, the technical side of transferring business. When I started 29 years ago, most contractors didn't have wills or trusts or any of that stuff. They didn't have any of the drop-dead documents that you need. Now today, almost everybody has that stuff, and it's generally in pretty darn good shape. People know that just like doctors, you go to a specialist doctor, you need to go to a specialist attorney as well. And so the tax attorneys have done a really good job, the CPAs, the financial planners have done a really good job of getting people to stand up and take notice and putting that drop-dead safety net in place. So, it's, financing the successor and how we're going to agree to divide our profits after succession, all those things. getting planned. So according to studies from the Canadian Federation of Independent Business, we have NFIB, they have CFIB. What's not being planned? Now think about that. What's not being planned? Number one, having a common vision for the future of the business. Now, if I'm a founder of a construction company, how hard do I have to work on my vision? My board meetings take place between my ears. We don't need to, it doesn't need to be explicit. It doesn't necessarily even need to be written. I feel it in my brain and I feel it in my heart. But now if you've got kids that are taking over the business or 3 partners that are going to take over the business, if they don't share a common vision, that is a recipe for disaster. And when I say that having a common vision for your business is the #1 building block, it sounds all consultancy. It sounds like BS, but it's absolutely true. If you don't have a common vision for your business and you've got multiple stakeholders and owners, then you've got a problem. No real discussion about how we're going to communicate in the business after the founder is gone. Clear roles and responsibilities. Whether we're working with a $50 million GC or a multi-billion-dollar company, we always have to work on roles, responsibilities, and what's the third part of that? Roles, responsibilities, and accountability. RRA. Roles, responsibilities, and accountability, especially in sibling partnerships, Generation 2 businesses, brothers and sisters. Accountability is really hard to come by. And third generation is even harder, where you've got cousins that didn't grow up in the same household. So that's really a challenge to create accountability in those systems. Processes for transitioning day to day. The job description in most family businesses, do whatever it takes. And that's a horrible job description. That's a recipe for disaster. So it actually flies in the face of having clear roles and responsibilities. And then strategic talent planning, which we'll talk about a little bit more later. Even marketing and sales. I mean, most contractors, I don't mean to step on toes, folks, and most contractors are horrible at business development. Right now the phone is ringing. That's good. But what happens if we get back into that trough period like we had used to? Questions or comments about what's being planned or not being planned? How are we doing questions from the people online? Are we monitoring that? They're just going to take this in as we can. Okay. All right. Comments or questions, everybody? It really should be simple, right? So, I've worked hard all my life. I've worked hard since I was 25 years old. I'm now 65 years old. Holy moly, that's plenty. Why is it so hard? Why shouldn't I be able to enjoy life anymore? Who's working less hard today than they did? And what was the last year when we really felt the recession? 2012, 2013 maybe? So who's working less hard now than you did 5 years ago? Less hard? Good for you, brother. One man. That means everybody else is working harder, doesn't it? Right? Question?
Yeah, I was going to ask you, you may have touched on it a second ago, but sustainable retirement income for the business owner, right? So one of the things we see in our practice are closely held businesses, family businesses, and the matriarch or patriarch wants to leave the business but doesn't want to saddle the next generation who takes over the business with having to pay them out some sort of defined benefit income so they can have a nice retirement. So it's a challenge that we see a lot in our work.
What's the nature of your friend?
Life insurance work, corporate-owned life insurance.
I think moms and dads should make the next generation pay for the business. I mean, if you're going to sell it to non-family, if you're going to sell it to a team of, business development, project management types, well, you make them pay for it, right? Maybe not top dollar, maybe not top of the market, but they would have some skin in the game. Our philosophy is if you're transitioning the business, instead of just making gifts of the business to the next generation, man, they would have some skin in the game.
Yeah, it's not the equity value that I'm referring to, but it's more the creating or the ability for the founders of a business to have a sustainable level of retirement income to enjoy.
Most of our folks have done a pretty good job of maxing out their 401k and putting aside. Almost all contractors that we work with in real estate of one sort or another. I don't know they've done a whole lot of corporate life insurance or something like that, but I'd say they should not. I mean, I think you're a damn fool if you wake up one day and you're 65, you haven't done a lot of retirement planning, right? So by all means, talk to folks like this because they can help you with it. So it really should. I think we make it too complicated. This whole succession business, we make it too complicated. There is a good bit of complexity between the needs of the senior generation needs of the junior, who's going to run the company when I'm not here, and then financial constraints. There's always financial constraints, right? Because if I'm running a $50 million gross GC, and I say, okay, I'm going to sell my company to you for $50 million, is cash flow going to allow that? I mean, that's just unreasonable. That's not going to happen. So money is always, what are the two constraints in life? There's only two. Universal constraints. What are they? Time and money. That's it. You got to, pick one. You don't have to have a wealth of both. The menu of alternatives is too big, so we're talking about, talking to a gentleman that provides corporate and life insurance. That's an alternative. What other alternatives are out there? Installment sales, ESOPs, right? We're just talking about that. I just got off the phone with a contractor in Mississippi. He's going to shut the doors. He's made plenty of money, and he owns tons and tons of real estate now. He's just going to shut the doors. There it is. The fear associated with succession and transition. We only do it in construction. You do lots of things repetitively, right? You hand off jobs, and you buy out jobs, and you do this stuff all the time. But when it comes to transition, you only do it maybe once a generation, and not even that. So it doesn't come naturally. It's not like your succession muscles are all built up. It's something you have to figure out and refigure out every generation. And just because Dad's generation or Granddad's generation was able to come up with a transition plan, that certainly doesn't mean that your generation is going to come up with a succession plan. Copy their succession plan that works in the exact same way. I mean, do you run your company today the way Dad or Granddad did? Heck, do you run it the way you did 10 years ago? Right? Things are just different today, aren't they? Aren't they? Yeah. All right. Comments or questions? This really should be kind of interactive here, folks. You're a business, right? All right. So you've seen the stats. I used to think these were made up. I thought the legal industry or the financial planning industry just made these up out of, just cut them out of cloth and put them on a board somewhere. But, after 29 years of watching contractors come and go, I think they're probably pretty accurate. What do y'all think? And does it seem right? In the Atlanta market, companies blow up on the scene and they pick up tons and tons of work, and man, you think these guys have got it going on, and then 10 years later, they've fallen off the radar. What happened? Now, this isn't unique to contractors, though. This is across all family business. But yes, sir.
Well, so I do business valuation. Family businesses actually survive longer. For-profit businesses don't even make it this long.
That's a great tip. So don't go into a non-family business. Just screw it up. So last week I was doing a presentation, and there was at least one fourth-generation family business and one fifth-generation family business. Gilbane, you may have heard of. I think Gilbane is a fifth-generation family. So, you think about it. Look at the names. I mean, these were household name companies. The first beer I ever had was a Schlitz. One of those little 7-ounce. They didn't even get hot when you were drinking them. They were so little. I think I was 9 sugar. It wasn't very good. Schlitz is gone, and Stroh's. Stroh's actually bought Schlitz and then screwed them both up. Stroh's is a family business. First plane ride was Eastern Airlines. And those of you that are old enough, Doug says he's only 54, and so you're just a puppy. But, we used to get the Sears and the Montgomery Ward's catalogs and look at them, for the Christmas toys. And we just thought that was the greatest thing ever. And my kids think I'm an idiot when I say that stuff. You have to look at a catalog and see what you want to see. Anyway, these were successful companies, and they had armies of MBAs and lawyers and experienced business people and, great ideas and opportunities and capital at their disposal. And where are they now? So the point of this slide is it is hard to stay on track. The other day, we were watching baseball, and the Dodgers, I'm a Dodgers fan, and the Dodgers got beat by the Brewers in I think, a game. And I was mad as hell because I think we walked in the tying run, if not the leading run. And my wife said, "Oh, it's okay, you'll get them tomorrow." And I said, "It doesn't matter because nobody's going to beat the Astros anyway." So, right? So, did they not look unbeatable? All right? The whole regular season, I know Bucs had a better record, but the whole regular season, the defending champs looked like they were absolutely going to walk into the World Series again. And they started off strong in the playoffs against Boston. They're not here. It is hard to stay on top. And I don't care how smart you are or how many opportunities you have, it's just awfully hard. Pat Riley, the former Lakers coach, and he calls it the disease of too much. So you work your whole life to get on top and, work junior high and high school and college, and finally you make it to the pros and you work even harder. And then one year your team wins a championship. And then what happens? You've hit your life's dream. You've hit the jackpot. You've won the lottery. And then what happens? The sponsors start calling, and they want you to endorse their products. Family members start calling, and they need a little financial assistance. And the sports writers are calling, and you go on the rubber chicken circuit, and you go do speeches. And, guess what happens? You lose that focus, that hunger that helped you become successful in the first place. So Pat Riley just calls it disease too much. And that's probably as much psychological as anything else, why it's so hard to stay on top. So, if you think about it, has everybody read Good to Great? I mean, is it not the best-selling, maybe Stephen Covey is a better one, but, it might be the best-selling business book of all time. And of the 11 companies they profiled, one was Circuit City, by the way. 8 have underperformed stock market averages, 2 had to be bailed out by the government. Circuit City's bankrupt and 1 is in conservatorship. So, here's this Harvard guy talking about the greatest companies on earth and how we can emulate them. I think there are some practices that we want to emulate from those companies, but we definitely want to have longer term success than what they have. And the ironic truth is this: the seeds of a company's destruction are sown in good times. Now, you think about the recession. What did we all do in the recession? We tightened those belts. We made painful people cuts. And we cut coffee in the break room. We sliced and, man, we did everything. We cut bone and muscle. We sliced everything. And by God, we survived. And we learned a lot, right? Because those of us that survived through the Great Recession, came out the other end a little leaner, a little stronger, a little tougher maybe. But now in today's market, everybody's printing money. And how long is it before you got to read in the paper, some site work guy failed on a job, and that created a cascade, and it took down, one of the bigger GCs or whatever. It's just going to happen. So the seeds of a company. One of the first contracts I was called on back in the 80s was in Raleigh, North Carolina, my hometown. And I went to call them, I drove up, and man, they had a Lexus, a Cadillac, a Jaguar. I mean, all their company cars were just premium luxury brand cars. And I thought to myself, wow, this must be the most successful construction company anywhere. If they can have this kind of company car, it didn't last 5 years. I mean, that's just what happens, right? When things are this good as they are right now, you start to read your own press clippings. And, I read a book recently, Mistakes Millionaires Make. It's about people that become really successful in business, like, company valuations of $100 million and above. And then from some set of circumstances, they plummet back to earth. So it's really interesting. One of the things he talks about in mistakes they make is most of the guys tend to learn. They're on this up and down cycle, but usually they come out okay. And then they say, you know what, I made $10 million in the construction business. Guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to put some of that money into XYZ business because I know business. I'm a business genius. Look at what I did. I just sold my construction company. I'm going to invest in a small IT company, or I'm going to invest in a chain of daycare centers or something like that. How well do they do with these non-core industry investments? It's one of the huge mistakes millionaires make. They think that because they were successful in business X, they're also going to be successful in business Y. There are some people that can do it. Probably not us. Probably not us, though. All right. And if you're in a family business, how common is conflict? So 20% report weekly conflict, 20% report monthly conflict, 42% report occasional conflict, so 82% report conflict regularly in their business. What conclusion can we draw about the other 80%? They're lying. What are you talking about? Sir, come on. Conflict is the rule, man. It's not the exception in family business. That's just, and if you don't have a way to deal with it, it's one of those things that'll take you down. I've seen so many construction firms, and I'm talking to you like last week or 2 weeks ago. And so the brother owns this operation over here in this city. The other brother owns this operation, and they share the name, and they share the reputation and everything, but this brother has his 2 kids working for him over here, and he runs it like his little kingdom. And the other brother runs his operation over here like his little kingdom with his 4 kids working for him. And the 2 brothers don't talk at all. They don't have any relationship at all. So now they're trying to figure out how they're going to make this company succeed going into the 3rd generation. It ain't going to succeed. You know, there's just no way to take that much dysfunction, put it under one roof, and make it all come out smell like a rose. It's not going to happen. They've let dysfunction build up and fester in their company. Primarily, the biggest problem they have is the lack of trust. Once you lose trust in a business, family business or not, once you lose trust, it's so hard to get it back. It's near impossible to get it. You've got to guard your integrity. You've got to do what you say you're going to do every single time, or you're going to screw it up. All right, so in my case, so the Family Business Institute started with me and my father-in-law. So I was in a business and he was in a business, so we got together, and you know, we're family, so we trusted each other. So we were the first family business consulting firm that was actually a family business. And after about 5 or 6 years, we made it through survival and we got to a stability plateau. And then we became the first family business consulting firm that was a family business that had to hire our own family business consultant. I mean, we were completely dysfunctional, just like most other businesses. And it was, in a way, it was money well spent. We spent $80,000 on consulting, believe it or not, which is a lot of money back in the, this was like right around the time of 9/11. And what happened was we realized that we had gotten into business together for the wrong reason. We trusted each other. We had a common bond in my wife. And so she was the glue that held us together. But we didn't share, guess what, a common vision. He just wanted a lifestyle business that would pay a decent salary and, you know, get him in front of groups like this for speeches and things like that. I wanted a business that works really well whether I show up or not. We were trying to build, you know, he wanted to have kind of a micro business, and I wanted to have a hell of a nice business. And there's no way to satisfy, there's no way to average that out and make both of us happy. We did not share a common vision. It was a heck of a lesson. Mark Twain said, a man who wrestles a bobcat learns 1,000 times more than a guy who just watches. And so for years, I've just been watching, right? I've been observing you guys in your businesses and in your family businesses. But then when I went through it myself, man, what an eye-opener. I was on the other side of the table. I was receiving consulting assistance. I wasn't giving it. It was a real eye-opener. And it taught me a lot of things.
How did you guys settle it out? What happened?
I walked in his office one day, and we had another fight, another fight, and I said, you know, it happened on, say, Monday afternoon. On Tuesday, I went to his office. And, Tom, you know, I've always thought we were going to be able to work it out, but now I don't. So either you buy me out or I'll buy you out. You decide. I'll go either way. I'll be fine. I'll go either way. And he came back next day and said, you buy me out. Yep. And best move we ever made for the business. And the best move we made for our family, because I don't think I would have been able to stay married to daughter. I mean, she was, poor thing, she was just trapped in the middle, wasn't she? I mean, it was awful. And, we probably couldn't have stayed married if we tried to stay in business. So there's a lot of blessings in that decision. And it was Tom's decision, to his credit. I mean, I gave him the alternatives, and he gave me the decision. And worked out great for both of us. He's gone on to do bigger and better things. And so thanks for the question. Put me on the spot there, brother. All right, yeah. So there is a magic bullet. That's the good news. I wish I'd known this in 2001, and we would have tried to employ it. But there is a magic bullet, and I'm a little bit reluctant to tell you what it is, because most of you have been exposed to this before, and most of you feel like you got screwed over. The fact. All right, so let me dig a little deeper here. All right, so I'm at this meeting. It's the Family Firm Institute, which is our trade association, and there are 40-some family business consultants, like 44 family business consultants from 14 different countries around the world. We're meeting in Boston. And we're watching this family business video case study. And we're at round tables, so like 10 round tables. And that's not right. However many 8 divided by 44, whatever the number. So we watched the video case study, and each table has to report out what they would do. How would you, as a consultant, how would you go in and help these people solve their problem? All right? So table number 1, it says blah, 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 family retreat. Table number 2, blah, 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 family retreat. Table number 3, blah, 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 family retreat. I can't believe my ears. I mean, 14 different countries around the world. Surely there's a diversity of opinion in this room. Family retreat, family retreat. I stood up at the end. I was the last one. And I said, if you put these dysfunctional family members into a retreat, it's going to be a stinking disaster. You need to go through the business door. They understand the language of business. You teach them what they know using the language of business. If you put them in a highly charged, emotional setting like a family retreat, it's just as likely to blow up in your face as it is to be a success. Well, they practically excommunicated me. I almost got kicked out of the organization. I mean, really, it was just like I almost got slapped in the face. But then a few months later, in our magazine, this came out. So the use of planning management, strategy, and governance practices increases communication, information, and knowledge sharing in the business, which improves the organization's culture and leads to increased business opportunities, which, oh, by the way, unanticipated benefit, increases family unity and harmony. Who saw that coming? So what's the tool? What's the tool? How do you simultaneously improve harmony in a family or business family and help them get more success in the business? What's the tool that you use? Planning, management, and strategy. So you've had speakers come here before. You had a speaker talk about safety, I'm sure, and you've had somebody talk about IT in your companies and maybe cyber risk and things like that. Those are microeconomic things that you absolutely need to be aware of in your business. I want you to get out of that micro thinking. I want you to get out of that project management thinking. The biggest project you have to manage is your business, right? You might have a $20 million project going on at the airport right now. That ain't your biggest project. The biggest project you have is your business. It's your company. And how are you going to make it successful? So it is a successful company whether you show up or not. That's what you want. And the only way to do that is by getting out of the job and the micro mentality and taking a 30,000-foot macro approach. So in our peer group program, Brian is getting ready to host next month, and he's already got a 10 on the sphincter factor. In our peer group program, we know that over time, our members over the last 5 years, roughly about double the typical contractor on volume and profit. Furthermore, we know that our peer group members that have been through rigorous strategic planning outperform even our peer group members by a factor of about 2 to 1. So instead of being 2x to the average contractor, they're 4x. We know it pays off. These are actual hard numbers from our clients' income statement. These are hard numbers. So we know it works. There's proof in that place. Officer count grew by 20%. And there's all this intangible stuff, the cultural improvement, communication improvements inside the company, succession planning improves in the company, developing new leaders, hiring new talent. All that stuff improves when you do this big picture, rigorous strategic planning. So I've got a couple case studies. We're going to dig deep. These are both contractors.
Case studies for contractors as well?
Yeah. So our at the moment, we have GC, heavy civil, several different trades. We just put together our first electrical group, a second mechanical group. Yeah, construction is construction. Whether you're a specialty contractor or whatever, construction is the same for just about everybody. Construction is an interesting thing. We tell people who work with contractors, their mind automatically goes to, specialty steel or heavy civil or something. But I will say different disciplines within construction are really pretty amazing. It's an amazingly varied industry. So this first one is a sort of a Midwestern contractor, 25 to 50 million volume over time, trending down towards the 25 when we encountered them a few years ago. There were 3 brothers in Generation 2 that owned the company. None of the 3 was leading. None of the 3 was making decisions. They had a dysfunctional controller. They had a business development guy that wasn't developing any business. They had one G3 member that was really probably the best leader, but he wasn't being allowed to break out because of the three G2 guys that were bickering all the time. One brother had checked out mentally. What really got them going was their good employees started leaving. They only had a handful of good employees, and they lost a couple of those pretty quick, and that really got them going. So at our first peer group meeting, at their first peer group meeting, one of the brothers cried. He knew. This was their first day. He never met these other brother and sister contractors before. And he started telling the company story about his dad started and all this other stuff, and he started crying because he knew they were in dire straits. They'd been losing $1 million to $2 million a year, and the bonding company had actually cut in the back a $1 million single job. So I'd never been so proud of one of my consultants, but they worked with a guy named Bundy, and he did after the peer group meeting, he did a summary for them, private summary of all the things he saw wrong in the company, gave him some alternatives for turning it around. And he sent it to them, and they called him 30 days later. They hadn't done anything. They were just on a treadmill, man. They weren't going anywhere. Wheels were spinning. And he sent him another letter, and he actually sent it to me first. He said, "Can I send this to a client?" I'm like, "Hell yeah, send it, man." But he said, "Construction is a tough business for tough people who are willing to make tough decisions." I mean, and he put that in black and white, and then he called him, and that was the culmination of his letter. And finally, they started moving. I was never so proud of one of my guys. That's blunt talk, but that's what people need to hear, right? They don't need to have it sugarcoated. You know, a lot of people out there want to sugarcoat it for them, but I don't think you should do that. Anyway, so 1 year later, so this was like, Ellie, I'm going to screw this up. So this was like middle of 15. By the end of 2016, the brother who had mentally checked himself out. They didn't have to fire him. They didn't have to push him out the door. The planning they went through with their team, he could see that he wasn't aligned with the rest of them. You know, it was painfully obvious to him that he really didn't want to be there anymore, and they didn't really want him there, and he wasn't adding value as all these other younger people are stepping up. So he left. We cut $2.3 million of payroll. It's a union company, and they were carrying all these employees unnecessarily. We did give $30,000 worth of raises, primarily. Most of that was to that promising G3 person. Finally put budgets in place, got rid of the old, all GCs have an old crane in the backyard. They been around forever. Sold off a bunch of property, had them clean up everything, just declutter, just go through and throw away stuff and haul it off to the dump. They actually finished 2017 with a net profit of $1.5 million. So they went from $1.5 million loss day to $1.5 million gain over the course of about $3 million. And really, it came down to something simple. You got to cut headcount. But they didn't have the guts to do it before going through the strategic plan process. I'm saying we did it, like FBI. We didn't do it. But they did it. We just gave them the ideas and said, do this. Do you feel comfortable with that? And they did. They grabbed the bull by the horns, and they did all this. And the bonding company all of a sudden raises their aggregates. The bank is happy. Everybody there is happier than they were because especially you got that one bad egg that was a real morale killer, having that guy around. Everybody else is trying to work hard and improve. Got this guy that's just like a sea anchor dragging you down. So anyway, it's a totally different company now. All right, different company, happens to be a Georgia contractor. I will not discuss specifics, of course. But small company, about 40 million of volume. We got involved with them. And volume was decent, but there was no profitability. There was a split between the owners over some ethical issues. No management team beyond the head guy. Poor financial controls inside. Just really not constraining spending at all. Volume was decent, 20 million and 40 million single aggregate. So they actually did 2 rounds of strategic planning. The first thing is, hey, we're doing decent volume. We got to get profit. If there's no profit in the thing, why bother? They wanted to grow their capital, launch a new office, get their volume from 40 to 100 by the end of 2016, diversify their market, start talking about ownership succession, get the gross margin up. This was an ambitious round of planning. Pretty much hit every single target. 2013 did it again and raised the bar even higher. So at the end of this year, this will be a $200 and something million contract. And finally, they've built the gross margins and the net margins into place. They've gone through some ownership succession. I mean, it's a real success story. And, you know, bonding company agrees, 80 million single and 250. So, you know, planning just works. Questions? Now, how many of you guys, you don't have to show your hands if you don't want to, just nod your heads. How many of you guys have hired some expensive consultant with a necktie, come in, and they do some kind of strategic planning or something for you, and they didn't produce a damn thing? I mean, really, I think you're right to be skeptical. Totally. To us, it is the magic bullet. It solves family problems. It solves employee problems and morale problems. You know, business development. It just works like a charm. But every single client we have has been screwed over, or tried to do a plan that just didn't work. And I think there's two problems with that. Most plans are built 30,000 feet high in the sky, and you end up with a 3-ring binder about this big with all kinds of Excel spreadsheets and diagrams and stuff like that. And that's all good. There's nothing wrong with that, nothing at all. The purpose of doing planning is not to produce a 3-ring binder. The value in doing planning is in the process of getting your smart people in your company together and planning and thinking and troubleshooting and bickering a little bit and determining priorities and setting goals and doing all those things. That's the value. The value is in the process. How you write it up is immaterial. So you have your so, you know, I read these books now, and they say, you've got to take your 3-ring binder. You've got to take this great big strategic planning document, and you've got to get it on 1 page. All right? And our plan is this big. It is literally this big. So I'm supposed to have it on her somewhere. I'm supposed to have it on me, too. So if a 1-page business plan is good, what about this size? That must be great. Must this not be great? I think it's a gimmick. If you say you're going to put it on a card or you're going to put it on 1 page, it doesn't matter. That's just a gimmick. The idea is to get it down on paper. Everybody's in agreement. Everybody knows what to do. The second reason plans fail is because you don't reduce the 3-ring binder down to weekly management steps. That's what you've got to do. You've got to drag down these 200 million. We're going to 200 million in volume. How are you going to do that? Okay, that's your goal, fine. But what daily and weekly tasks are you going to do? And if you're my business development guy, what's your budget? And what are your parameters? And what are you supposed to do to develop enough business to help us get to this goal? I mean, you need to know your specifics, right? And we need to be able to look at your specifics every single week. And are you on track or are you off track? If you're off track, how are we going to help you get on track? That's the thing that people don't do. They don't bring it for the 3-ring binder. Achieve that goal. Yeah, it's a team, but it's mutual accountability, because if you know as the BD guy, and I know, here are your targets, and you know as a project manager, these are my targets, right? Then you can help me and I can help you, and you know, the team prospers. That's just how it is. Yeah. All right. So we can pay your commissions now. If you knew that or not, that's kind of a new thing. Did y'all know that, coaches? You did. We haven't figured out the mechanics of it yet. But I asked the guys at Travelers. Travelers owns my company, by the way. They bought the company in January of 2017. And so I said, hey, you know, we get agents that refer business to us. Can we pay commissions to, you know, Sterling Seacrest agency? And the guys in Hartford said, wow, that's a great question. You're the only service that we have that we don't pay agent commissions. So, yeah, let's find a way to make it happen. So, anyway. All right, questions or comments? You know, I think the process is the key. If you sit down with your group and you do some kind of planning, whether it's full-blown strategic planning or you're working on succession or you're working on business development, you sit down with your people and you let ideas bubble up. And you don't squash the ideas, right? You have a full-blown, honest conversation. You debate. One of the key things, by the way, I think Google discovered this, one of the key things in positive outcomes in team meetings is differing perspectives, and having at least one female on the team is to improve outcomes, by the way. So FYI, because, you know, everybody thinks construction's a man's business. Well, maybe not in the future. Maybe it's not always going to be that way. Questions or comments?
The company you mentioned at the beginning that he decided to just close the doors because he's successful otherwise, at least financially. What was his reasoning? Just cause the avoid
85% of his net worth is not in his construction. So, I said, if you close the doors, you're not going to take the steaks off the grill tonight, are you? And he's like, oh, no, that's what they say. And where they are, he's basically been an absentee owner for 10 years and had a non-family president for the first time. So he's second generation non-family president. And the guy made some poor choices. And so now to rebuild his reputation would take too much time, blood, sweat, and tears. And he doesn't need the headaches. So he's just going to close the doors. Government contractor. One thing about we all adore our construction companies, and we think, man, we do things unique and our quality is the best and all that. If one government contractor in the Southeast disappears, is anybody going to notice? Do you think somebody will fill that gap? Somebody will step in and pick up those jobs? Yeah, we're all just here for a short while, folks. What are their questions?
So you said a large percentage of businesses. What percentage of businesses actually close compared to, you had some statistics up there before, to ones that successfully, have succession?
Well, okay, so if 70% fail between G1 and G2, that means that 30% are successful.
And then, so...
Now keep in mind, that statistic's a little misleading. So I started my company, but sold it to Travelers, right?
Okay.
So I would be in that statistic.
Sure.
I would be considered a failure. But, I don't think it was a failure. I mean, was it? I may have screwed something up, but anyway, but that, to me, that was a success because I didn't want my kids in the business. I was late getting married and late having kids, and I just didn't want to be sitting there at 65 or 68 years old trying to figure out, sitting on this, this balance point, are my kids going to be able to do it successfully? I mean, that was too much. It was too scary.
What's the weighted cost between closing the doors versus success?
It's a great question. So there's only 4 ways for business succession. There's only 4 ways. One of the ways is close the doors. The second is that you can give it away, usually to your kids. The third one is you can sell it to insiders. The fourth way is you can sell it to outsiders. That's it. That is your entire menu right there.
Sure.
So if you're sitting there at age 65 like this guy, and he's worth, let's just say he's worth, I'm going to pick a number, $25 million, of which $2.5 million might be his construction company. He closes the doors, walks away from it, pays off, closes out his job, wraps up any liabilities he has. He's still got $22.5 million in his pocket. That's not a bad career. So I don't fault him. I mean, I understand his reasoning. I've talked to him for maybe a total of 90 minutes. I understand his reasoning. He elected to not allow the company to go on. I think he made a fine business decision. There's no value. I think we sometimes associate value judgments with whether or not a company succeeds to the next generation. But success for him is walking away from it and enjoying the rest of his life without the headaches the contracting company has been producing for him the last 3 years. There's nothing wrong with walking away from it in my book. What other questions?
Are there any common, what are some of the common things that folks are unable to overcome and the ones that, don't make it through this strategic transition?
Trust is the biggest one. The biggest fights that we've had, and sometimes literally fist fights, have been in sibling partnerships where brothers just absolutely refuse to get along, brothers and sisters in some cases. They just, once you've been through a breach of trust, followed by a breach of trust, followed by a breach of trust, it's just, I don't care if it's a family business or not, that is so amazingly hard to overcome. So when they don't share common vision and they don't fully, 100%, unequivocally trust each other, I don't care how good your strategic planning is, it's not going to work. Now, in our case with the first example, where one of the brothers voluntarily departed because he just didn't see a future for himself there, that opened the door to the other guys being able to trust each other. So that actually cleared the path for us to be able to help them a little bit better I don't know that they would have made it had the other brother needed to hang around. Yes, sir.
Okay, well, here's my scenario. I have a son-in-law that works with me. We've had discussions about him buying business, finance business, so we can come up from cash. But, I had a competent person tell me that, well, I expressed concern to a person that I've known for a while about whether my son-in-law could run a business. At his comment was, that doesn't matter. So I want to know what.
What do you mean it doesn't matter?
Well, he said, that's not your concern.
Well, that's stupid. if you love your employees and you love your customers, then it absolutely does matter whether or not he can run the business. Tell your friend, tighten up. That's bad advice. I mean, it really doesn't matter. I mean, I would say the biggest, when our clients do, on the rare occasions when they do sell their company, they almost always put some kind of employment agreements or something together for the benefit of their employees. Because if you think about how much time, we spend with each other in a work relationship, hell, I spend more time with people at work than I do with my own children now. So, I care about them. I want to make sure, that means one of the things when Travelers came on, we wanted to make sure that our people were going to get taken care of. And why wouldn't you? That's absolutely a factor. Yeah. Not to mention that if your son-in-law screwed up the business, that might create personal liability for him and your daughter.
But I already have, that's just part of it.
Yeah. That's got to be part of the equation. Though, is what's going to, so my friend Bobby in Raleigh, when he was like 40, he sold his company for $26.5 million to some big Fortune 500 company. And then he almost immediately had a nervous breakdown. They came in and changed everything, changed the environment, changed the culture of the company, and the people that helped him build it up, that didn't, he got a lot of money, but they didn't. He owned it. But he wanted to see them taken care of, and they weren't. And some of them got fired, some of them left because the culture was so bad, and almost put the poor guy in the hospital. He cared that much about it. And I would say most of you are the same way about your people, are you not? I mean, you genuinely care about them and their families and their, kids going off to college and all that stuff. You just care about people like that. So I would say, that's got to be a part of your mental equation is what's the welfare of these people going to be when I leave you? Yeah.
I'm sorry.
That's sure. No worries. Contractor with a tight schedule. Can you imagine? All right, very good. Well, thank y'all so much. God bless you. You've been a great audience. And we'll collect these things and fill them out, and we'll get you on our blog list and all that kind of stuff. Thank you.
Thanks, Wayne. Please be on the lookout for our next event. It's on Wednesday, November 14th. We'll be having in some attorneys to speak with us about, how important it is to manage your panel of physicians on your workers' comp exposure. And we'll have some attorneys and some claims folks from a couple different, one from the law firm and a couple from one of our leading carriers. But you should be seeing that soon, and hope to see you again next event. Thank you.
No, it's just hard.